Welcome to another episode of Two Ales and Hockey Tales with Wally. And today I am so excited to have on again a 48-year-old from Cardiff, Wales, the Honey Hole. His hockey journey has taken him to Cardiff, Wales, and Cardiff, Wales since '92, except for a brief affair with the Telford Tigers for 14 games in '97, '98. He is a winner and wins anyhow it takes. He did put up a staggering 7 goals in 242 EIHL games played. As a player, was a 2-time BHL champion, a British Super League champion, a 2-time Challenge Cup champion, and a Knockout Cup champion. He will do whatever it takes to win, and is my Devil's Swiss Army knife. He's been the assistant coach, the co-coach, the director of hockey ops, and the pregame speech videographer, and has been an integral part of every trophy lifted by my Devils. One of them was a Challenge Cup with yours truly. He will still do whatever it takes. Even fought me once in a testimonial, and is back on the bench this weekend, battling for another trophy, the Continental Cup. Welcome back to the shed, Neil Francis.
Thank you, Wally. Thank you. Good to be here.
It's been a while, eh? We haven't seen each other. I was going to get into how we know each other. There's a lot of stuff there, but saw you at Batchy's testimonial. I guess that was the last
Yeah,
time, eh?
yeah. That's the annual thing now, isn't it? We see each other at testimonials.
Yeah. I don't think I'd be participating this year because I never played with Ben Davies, but he's having one, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a fun time. I
Well,
got to get him in
who
his
knows?
shed.
Who knows?
Tell
Yeah.
that guy I want him in my shed. I got to promote his big
Yes, you
game,
should.
help him sell some tickets. But
Yeah.
you're on the
Yeah.
bench this
Definitely.
weekend?
Yeah. Back on the bench. Yeah. They rolled me back there for the game last weekend in Manchester. And then yeah, still there this weekend. So our assistant coach Ewan King is ill at the moment, so he's not going to be there, which sucks for him. He puts so much work in, does so much behind the scenes for us. But he can't be there this weekend, so yeah, happy to step in and keep it warm for him.
And that's what you do. You're always willing to step up in whatever role. So what has been your role at the Devils this year? You do whatever.
Yeah, yeah. So a couple of new ones for me this year as well. So I mean, I guess my title is director of hockey, but I mean, basically that means helping Pete and Todd out with whatever they need from me.
Yeah.
Pete actually put it a good way at the start of the season. He had the off ice staff in a room, and he had our doctors, our physios, and Todd and Murdy, the equipment guy, and all the people in there. And then he came to me in terms of my role, and he said, "See, if our team was like a jar of marbles, then Franny is the sand that you pour in that jar to fill the gaps. Because no matter what, where the gaps are in all the roles, then I kind of bridge those gaps where and when I can." So I thought that was a really good analogy way of putting it. But
Yeah, I've seen
yeah,
it
so
for years,
this year,
man.
this year the additional roles that I've had, I've been helping out the webcast guys on Devils TV who do a fantastic job. So you got Gaza and Dan who normally do the comms, but they have other jobs as well. It sometimes takes them away and other commitments. So I've been filling in, doing a bit of color commentary, which is fun.
Is that right?
And when the two guys are both there, then I come in on the period breaks and do a bit of summarizing, just kind of give it an insight from a players, coaches kind of point of view. And then last week, when there was a shortage over Christmas, I was actually on one of the cameras as well. I was the slow mo camera operator. So
I've seen you work. You've taken videos before, so it wasn't your first
yeah,
time behind the camera.
yeah, we never did a slow mo though, did we? Which is probably a good thing.
Yeah, as long as we keep those videos to ourselves, because yeah, I know you videoed the one pregame speech in Sheffield when I was Thor and beat the wheels off
Yeah.
of D with
Steeler
the
Dan
Thor hammer.
had a
Yeah,
bad day, didn't he? Yeah.
he did. And when you watch that video back, it is quite outrageous what we were doing. And it is nice that you took videos because, there's a lot of things you do in your life where nobody captures that moment. And it can be fun to relive it, 8, 9 years later.
Yeah. In the right circumstances with the right audience. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Keep that to yourself, fellas.
That's
But
director's cut.
the what inspired me to have you back in the shed though was I did see that the Cardiff Devils put out Neil Francis back on the bench and you were going to Manchester and I guess my Devils won, eh? There's no chocolate in Manchester. Did
Yeah.
anybody throw a Kit Kat for Mosey though? Because Manchester should have thrown a Kit Kat for Mosey.
I did see a bar come on the ice. I didn't identify what that bar was, so let's assume it was that Kit Kat because it wasn't a chocolatey storm, and
Yeah,
I'm glad about that, obviously from the Devils' point of view. But I did see a bar come on, and I thought either somebody hasn't quite got it that you throw it on when you.
that you only throw it when
But
you
now
win.
now you mentioned it, yeah. Now you mentioned it, that was probably for Mosey.
That was well, and that's hockey. Whoever wins wins. And
Yeah,
I want Kit Kats back for Mosey. He deserves it. He's a shed legend. He put me on the map with Matt Carruth, and they started all this chocolate fun. And Sheffield set the bar. What was it, a year or two ago with Kit Kat Get That. And when teams have my back and like they supported me and shared it, and then all of a sudden there were thousands of Kit Kats on the ice, it just melted my heart. And I never thought I'd ever like the Sheffield Steelers ever in my life. I hated them with a passion when I was down in Cardiff and while I was there, because they did beat us both years I was there, right? What a mess.
yeah.
Yeah,
But they did then kill the fun, didn't they, and banned Kit Kat Get That. So
they
if
did.
it comes back, we're not banning it.
Right?
If it comes back,
Right?
it's here to stay.
I agree, and I
Yep.
think it should be it. And Kit Kats are red. The Cardiff Devils are red, right? It makes more sense
Yep.
than the
Now it
orange
does. Yeah.
team, right? And
Yep.
I sure hope you guys earn it this weekend. And the other thing is though, because I'm a hockey guy. Whoever earns it earns it. And if Herning did win, or they play the other two teams, if Herning wins games and Max stands on his head and stops pucks and wins the game, gosh darn it, the Twix started in Cardiff, Wales, didn't it?
Yeah, it did. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And
So
I think it would
I'll
be
be all
neat that if
right
he
with
earns
I'll
it,
be all
that
right with Twix's coming in 2 games, but
right.
obviously I don't want to see him after our game.
Well, exactly. But it's whoever earns it earns it. The other way we know each other though is yourself and I do know more about what's going on in the hockey world than we let on sometimes, right? And
Yeah.
it's interesting. Like you've heard of people being injured. I've heard of people signing that maybe we shouldn't know about.
Yeah.
But it's amazing the injuries players can play through, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we had the famous chat in Heidi's bar there when we had all the testimonial guys in after Myers, I think it was, and
And
John, I was telling
and
you about
he
his
wasn't just
injury,
telling us, he
which
showed us
no,
his
show,
chest.
which was basically a fractured sternum and ribs, and he kept it quiet as well. He
Didn't
didn't
even
want them
tell
to
anybody.
know because they'd say, well, you probably shouldn't play. So, and then the same guy in his last ever, top level games for GB breaks a wrist, not a finger, a wrist, and refuses to go to the hospital because he knows when they X-ray it, they're going to say it's broken. They'll put it in a cast, and
And they
he'll be
won't
at
let
the
and they
gold
won't
medal
let him
game.
play at
So
his last game, so he wouldn't get
yeah,
X-rated and
so
went
so
out and won a gold
he
medal.
just doesn't go. He just doesn't go. He sucks it up. He plays a full role, and then he lifts the trophy for the gold medal.
And that
Unbelievable.
honestly, he's unbelievable, and that is what it takes to win. Some people can dig down deep, some people can't. In that same conversation, someone was telling a story of a guy that had hurt his pinky finger and couldn't play a playoff game because he hurt his pinky finger, and and this guy's telling us about his broken sternum and broken ribs, and
Broken.
like he doesn't, he's not. He wasn't telling us to gloat, or he was just telling us the facts, and it showed us his chest,
Yep.
and there was a bone sticking out like 4 inches. Oh, and then a guy
Yep.
can't play because of a pinky. And what's interesting for me is some of the injuries I've found out about of what guys are playing through, that it's like, man, there's still gamers in the game, isn't there?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where it sort of gets frustrating from an off ice perspective is when you lose a few games.
When we know what
Yeah,
people are going through and they
yeah,
maybe aren't playing well. I know where you're going with that because when I was in Germany and I played with Mark Heatley, Danny Heatley was
yeah,
in the NHL in the playoffs and was getting roasted by fans, by the TSN guys for not producing in the playoffs. And I was having beers with Mark, and he was like, yeah, like they're really giving it to him, and he's getting really frustrated, but like he's playing with a broken hand. And nobody knows that. He's playing the playoffs with a broken hand. And everybody's talking about how he's not scoring and he's not a playoff player. And he's like, well, actually, he's playing with a broken hand for his teammates and his team and for his
yeah,
fans and for, to win.
yeah, yeah.
Right.
And that's and that's where it gets frustrating. I mean, it's December wasn't a good month in Cardiff. We were doing really well up to then, and the style of hockey has been great. It's high energy and relentless hockey, and then we kind of fell off. And when you look back at that, it's something like 26 games in 6 weeks. So that's averaging over 4 games a week for 6 weeks, not just a couple of, it's for 6 weeks. And,
Why were
we
you
had
playing
the
so many
Continental Cup.
games? Oh,
Well, one were in the Continental Cup. So that's 3 games in 3 nights. Plus, it takes out a whole weekend of Elite League action. So you've got to fit those in because there's no gaps. So you got to create gaps in midweek. Then there was the tragic incident with Adam Johnson, which,
yeah.
nobody obviously could foresee that coming. But, rightly so, the league paused for, I think it was 3 games. So you got to squeeze those in. Then we've got this weekend where we're back in 3-on-3 action, Continental Cup, but we also miss Elite League games. So you got to cram those in somewhere else. And the Christmas period is always busy anyway, because it's the holidays for everybody else, which means more games for the guys. So yeah, 26 games in 6 weeks is no wonder why guys maybe aren't playing physical and then they get accused of being soft. You know, I see things that, oh, Pete must have told them not to hit and he wants to play soft European hockey or whatever. Well, no, it's sometimes it's you just got to do games, and if guys aren't taking the extra steps to make those hits, then when you look at the volume of games, it's understandable. And this isn't even factoring in that we had guys that had no business being on the ice. But when you got Joey Martin out with a big injury, you got Cody Donaghy out with a big injury, then those guys had to play. So with the volume, otherwise they let their teammates down, and they're even shorter. So there's always factors that people don't realize, and I get when it looks like people aren't trying or where the team, it's not quite going there, but
Well,
you
there's
just got
ups
to
and
consider
downs in a
all the
season,
facts.
right?
And
It's what the way I would
yeah,
like to say it, if anybody is listening to us in my shed, is when I went to Cardiff, there wasn't a lot of expectations. Everybody was just happy when we went out there, competed and won. Like there wasn't the backlash just because you lost a game. And that's what I loved about Cardiff was that the fans were our family. They had our back through the tough times and the good times. They had our back. And sometimes I see what people put out there and what they're writing about my buddies, my team, and it's disgusting. Because I know who they are. I know how hard they compete. And when you don't have their back, sometimes it can be harder to get out of the funk because your fans don't have your back and it takes everybody to win, right?
yeah, and then things snowball, don't they? So I mean, and I got to say, it is,
Well, and that's the thing.
it is
Snowballing
a,
though is like if you lose a couple games, it can happen with teammates, it can happen with coaches, it can happen with fans, but people start pointing fingers and then all of a sudden it's way harder to get back in a groove, right?
yeah, and it is all about confidence. And yeah, I mean, it is a minority of people that are very negative, but then sometimes people say things and that becomes fact, and then people act on it as if it's fact, and then it becomes a thing. And what else hasn't helped is Sheffield, and I take my hat off to them. They
No
have
shit.
been a
They're a bunch
machine
of
this year.
punks this year, aren't
You
they?
know, they're running at 90% win rate, which if they carry on doing like that, then wow, that's something that's never been done ever. So,
Right. Well,
it's
their
they,
record is
they've got a really, really
outrageous.
solid team.
When you think of the
Yep.
teams in that league and the competition they're playing against, their record is outrageous. You know?
Yeah. Especially that the league is so deep this year, where right the way, through to 10, there's teams that can beat you every night, but they're steamrolling everybody. So it's
Well, and sometimes
from their point of
there's
view, it's impressive.
magical seasons though, right? Like not, sometimes teams just have that it factor, but like what that team's had to go through this season and how they've
Yep.
come back from it and how they've
Yep.
come together, it is impressive. But I do hope you guys can catch them.
Yeah, I think the key for us is to keep somehow on their tails and apply a bit of pressure. Right now, I don't feel they have that pressure.
No, they're
Typically,
grooving.
they've historically they've got off to a great start. There's been teams on their heels, and maybe the pressure gets to them, and they fall off, and that's happened the last few years. But the gap is uncomfortably big now, where they don't have that pressure. But what I know from personal experience, the Devils went on that world record run where we had 21 wins in a row, which is just insane. And we didn't win the league that year, which is
That
nuts.
is also insane. Yeah.
That is also insane. Yeah. So we went 21 wins in a row. Belfast and Sheffield were only ever a few points behind us because if they lost one, they would win the next six. And it went so it was always that thing. But then when we did lose that 22nd game, and it was up in Dundee in a penalty shootout, when we lost that game, from going into every game knowing that we were going to win and feeling invincible and just having a real strut about us, all of a sudden that invincibility shield went, and we
Yeah.
felt so vulnerable. And I think we lost 3 or 4 in a row. So that's how it can work if you're not used to losing and to having that adversity. Sometimes when it happens, then it can really hit you even harder. So maybe that happens, maybe it doesn't, but all
I'm
we can do is keep.
Fran, man, I'm living that right now. With my under 13 squad, we were having a year, we're having a season, we're having a memorable year. With
Yep.
12-0 in the regular season, won every game, beat everybody. And then it's like the midpoint of the season where they rejockey things, but then we have our silver stick tournament and we lose to a team that, I mean, we should beat, we have beat. We lost a heartbreaker. It was as devastating of a loss as I've ever had. And our invincibility, our mood in the room, um, you know, they had never lost really. So then we
Yeah.
lost our next game, and it's trying to get my ship back on track, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
It
right back in
happens.
the
It
game,
happens like that.
Franny. Under 13's
Yeah.
just like pro, man, except you got to coach the parents and the kids.
Yeah. That's probably the toughest part of it with the parents because they like to get involved, and
Well, and also you could be
it's
telling the kids to do one thing, and then they hop in the car on the way home, and daddy's telling them something different, and it's like, whoa,
yeah.
whoa, man, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. I can imagine.
yeah, no, but it's so much fun, man. It's so much fun becoming friends with Colby's friends, and like they're my buddies too now. And one thing we got going, you know how in a season there's always like things that catch on and like they become a thing. The fellas really like giving me a TJ. They like giving me tape jobs. They love tape and sticks. I've never seen a team go through so much tape, man. And now they really like giving me awful tape jobs.
I like it. You got to have those little things, haven't you?
Yeah,
You got to
you
have those
have to.
little.
That's hockey, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, the one tape job my Savage gave me, he had like two knobs on the shaft. So like there were big bumps on my shaft. And then I went out there and I'm trying to like make passes and do stuff as the coach. And man, every time I'm running into the knobs on my shaft, it was brutal. But fun stuff. But I think we're back
I
on
like that.
track
I like
now.
that.
We're having fun again. And actually, well, after we lost that next game after the devastating one, I told the other coach, I'm like, we got to have some fun. And we did have a fun practice. We did a bunch of stuff. And then we ended it with a scrimmage, and the coaches participated. I put one coach on the other team, and I went on a team and ran amok, Franny. I still got it. Did you know that?
I do. Yeah. I see it. I see it every summer. Yeah. But no, do you know what? Having that little bit of adversity not too far in the season
It's
is not maybe not a bad thing.
I
You know, you
100%
learn from it.
agree.
When everything's going your way, you don't really learn that much. But when
We're,
you lose and you've got to have another rethink and reset, then you learn, and then you kind of I think that'll help your team going into into the
I,
business end of the season.
it's definitely the time to get this out of the way and peak at the right time. We got one more kick at the can for a trophy. We have won this year, but now we got all Ontario's coming up, and we'll be ready.
Nice. I'll
Mhm.
keep a lookout. I'll be following.
Yeah. We're
My
like the
favorite under
we're like
13 team.
yeah, we are like the most famous under 13 team in the world.
Yeah.
Everybody cares. My old man once told me, just so you know, nobody will ever care about your son's minor hockey. Well, guess what? I disagree.
He's wrong.
I'm going to
He's
tell
wrong.
everybody, and everybody's going to care because I care.
Worldwide, people care about this too.
Yeah. But I have everything I need, man. When you put together rosters, you help build teams, you try and find shed guys. I have a squad of dudes that they're brothers, and I got two horses that are like my size, and they're in under 13, and one's a D-man, one's a center, and like they can skate, they can shoot, they can do everything you need, but they're also like the greatest kids around, and like they're the leaders you need. And I'm very fortunate coach to have the kids I have in this town.
Yeah, no, it goes such a long way. As we know,
Yeah.
when you bring a team together of beauties like we did, that it goes a long way.
Well, and when the best players are the best people, like the Joey Martins of the world, the Mark
Yep.
Richardsons, if you will, the Ben
Yeah.
Bounces,
Yeah.
all those guys. When the best players
Yeah.
are the best people, you win shit. You know?
Yeah. And that I talked about our December not being great. I mean, is it any coincidence that Marty didn't play in December?
Right.
He come,
Yeah. Well, and
so
it's for him, it's like, yeah, maybe he doesn't have the points he usually has, but he has the intangibles. Like we've talked about this before, and it was interesting yesterday. Zach Sullivan mentioned like nowadays in hockey, when the top players don't score, maybe they don't bring anything else. Marty brings other things. He doesn't have to score to help the team win. He'll block shots, he'll penalty kill, he'll get pucks deep, he'll make the right play all over the ice, right? He'll even throw water bottles off
exactly
guys'
that.
heads if he needs to.
Whatever it takes. Yeah. I actually said that in that role as on Devils TV that Marty he was stuck on whatever it was 199 goals and he just couldn't get that one that landmark goal and he I don't know how many games he went maybe 10 or 12 games without scoring and you could see how frustrated he was. However, he was still helping the team doing everything but scoring. He was still all those details. He was still, back checking as hard as ever. He was still driving the net as hard as ever. Every little detail that you'd want from a player and a leader, he was doing. He just wasn't. He just, was snake bitten for a little bit there.
Well, and those landmark goals, they can be interesting. I couldn't score my 30th the one year. I got to 29. And like, man, I had empty nets. I had all
Yeah,
sorts of I couldn't put it in. And then once it gets in your mind, it's like, I don't know how to do this anymore.
yeah, yeah.
Oh God.
They can weigh down on you. That's for sure.
Um, so anyways, I don't even know what we're talking about, but I sure hope that everybody in the crowd, when Herning plays, they bring a Twix, especially against those other two teams. And if Herning wins, let's chuck Twix again. When Cardiff wins, let's chuck Kit Kats this weekend, right? And you know all about how fun it can be. Last time you came on, I believe you got peppermint arrows, right? And sent me a
I did.
selfie
I
on
got
the
mint
ice
there.
with peppermint arrows. How fun is that?
I know. We made a call out for it and it happened. It's the power of the shed.
Isn't it funny though? Like it's me talking in my shed on my work computer.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's
Yeah.
so
But
neat
it's
how this has happened. And it takes everybody to
yeah,
win, and the Shed family is a very neat thing that has happened.
it is definitely. And this weekend we are going to need a big boost from our fans. I mean, it's exciting to be hosting a European Cup final, which is, it's amazing. It's amazing to be
Well,
there.
and you
You
talked
know, we
about how many games you guys have had to play though, but what I was thinking while you were saying that is like, well, I want to play for trophies. I want to play in the Continental Cup. I want to play in the Continental Cup finals, and I want to play for trophies. And you guys get to play for another trophy that the other teams don't get to.
yeah, exactly.
And
It's
you
like
guys earned
it's
that,
all
right?
yeah, we did. I mean, we had to do it the hard way. We went across to Grenoble in France, and we played the team Astana that were playing today in the first game, and we got off. We were doing really well, but one of those games where you just don't, you do everything but score, and you just get that feeling that this is going to bite you. And sure
Yeah.
enough, totally against
Semifinals
the
of the
run of
Silver
play.
Stick, man.
Yeah. So it happens, doesn't it? You don't put your chances away. You're absolutely destroying the team. They get one chance and they bury it. You get a second chance, they bury it. And then you're playing catch up, and that's never a good thing. And they've got, I
And then when
mean,
you're
this
trying to play
tournament,
catch up, guys can try and do too much. They don't play the right way. They stop
yeah,
getting pucks deep because they're
yeah,
trying to make that extra move, and then it snowballs.
yeah. And that's what happened. We end up losing that first game. I mean, Astan have got an unbelievable goalie. He's like part of the KHL team. So he's on a KHL contract, but he plays in the Kazakhstan league, and he's phenomenal. So once they were up, then they had him behind them too. I mean, this weekend is packed with unbelievable goalies. I mean, you've got that guy who's the national team goalie for Kazakhstan. You've got Matt Caruth, who we know is phenomenal.
Mhm.
The guy, Polish goalie, is a dual national. I think it's John Murray or something. And then Bouncy and Tyler Waller, we've got great goalies too. So
Yeah.
it's
Well, and
there's
that's
going
how
to be
those
a
teams get
an
there.
all-star
Goaltending wins
lineup of
championships,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. It
Bounty's won a
does, it
lot of
does.
shit
So
though, man. Is he good? Like, so I don't. Obviously, you're one of the coaches. How are you guys doing this? Are you probably have one guy play the first game and the third game, and then another guy play the second game, or what? Or are you just gonna feel it? You're gonna
I
feel
mean,
the
right
rhythm.
now, yeah, I think it's feeling it. I mean, definitely two different goalies will play the first two games, and then I think the third game may be up for grabs.
Right. Well, geez, I sure hope I get to see you with the trophy and you send me a selfie, and there's Kit Kats all over the ice. I think that'd be wicked
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah. No, I hope so.
And
I got my
somebody can
selfie
throw a
ready.
peppermint arrow too for you, right?
Yeah,
It doesn't
just the
have to
one,
just be
just the
Kit
one. That's
Kats,
all we're
just
asking
one.
for.
We
Yeah,
just only need
yeah.
one just for Franny to feel like he won too, right? God, winning's fun. And like, I
Yeah,
don't know if anybody understands because like I don't tell people around here what I'm doing. I just come out to my shed, talk, and I do post the stuff on Insta. But like when I see chocolate bars hit the ice on the other side of the world from talking in my shed, like it literally buckles my knees, and I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe this is happening. you know?
yeah. And then when you see like the t-shirts in the crowd and everything, it's amazing.
And did just I don't know if you knew this, Franny. We talked this summer, and I said I'm like, I'm gonna sponsor Manchester. I hope my Devils
Yes,
fans
I saw it.
aren't upset with me because
Yeah,
I'm just having fun, and I uh I did try to get similar thing going in Cardiff. It didn't work out. And Manchester is going to let me have a pop-up stand. I just got to get it all coordinated. And Manchester is going to let me have a
nice.
pop-up stand at a game. Isn't that wild? From talking in my
Yeah.
shed, there's going to be merchandise sold in an arena in Manchester, and I never even played there.
But it's like there is an affiliation too, isn't it? I mean, it's the rink. It's a tent, but like a
It's the
posh
big blue
tent.
tent, right? And like
Yeah,
they
and
remind me of us in 2014-15. They really do.
yeah,
Like they're not the big budget team in the league, but they've recruited great dudes. They all make the time to come talk to me.
yeah,
And they go out there and give her. And like their captain, Critchlow, man, I've
yeah.
never even actually seen him play, but I can see he's a gamer, he's an entertainer.
Yes,
Every teammate on his team raves about him as a person, as a
yeah,
leader. Um, I stand by sponsoring him because I think he's an absolute dandy. you
yeah.
know?
And I saw it. I saw it firsthand in Manchester last weekend.
You
It
probably
was
giggled
the
when you
two
saw the
L's.
logo on the back of his jersey,
Yeah, I
didn't you?
did. Yeah, 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 yeah,
I think it's as hockey as it gets when I see a picture of my
yeah.
made up hockey team in my shed on a captain's jersey in professional hockey,
Yeah,
you know? And Todd, if you're up for it, maybe I could sponsor your team next year, maybe, see what happens, right? Maybe you got a pop-up
yeah,
stand too. Who
yeah.
knows, right?
I'll take one on the back of my suit.
I
I'll take
would
the
love
logo on my
that.
suit.
We should sew a patch on the back of your suit and get you back on the bench full time. I'd sponsor that in a heartbeat, Franny, because you're a winner. You'll do whatever it takes. I know that. um, but you saw that post I put out about I know exactly who has my back, and when I went out to drop the puck at Wally night and you were clapping behind me, I'll never forget that moment because
Yeah.
I had been living in the real world. I had not been Wally for quite some time. And then when you guys brought me back and I remembered who I am and what I'm about, um, after I did the pregame speech and I got dressed business casual and I had to run around the arena to
We
drop
had
the
to run
puck,
around the back.
and you were in the penalty box and you hadn't seen the pregame speech because you were just being you and helping any way you can. And you were in the penalty box and we just locked eyes. Like you looked at me and I looked at you and we both started laughing because you knew exactly what had
I
just gone
knew
on.
what happened. I knew. There's no way that you haven't just done a pre-game speech.
Then I went out to drop the puck and then all the players on the blue line were laughing. And I had just met them. They didn't even know me. And then I came around dressed business casual right after, and they were in
Yeah,
shock, I think.
yeah, like a real life Superman.
I'll never forget the look on your face when we both locked eyes.
Yeah,
And I was like stressed trying to run around and get ready. We both
yeah.
just started laughing. But that is what brought me back, and it inspired me starting this because I missed being that guy and the hockey guy, and I missed my friends, and I missed having fun. And thanks, Todd and Cardiff, for
And
bringing
look
me
at you
back,
now.
right?
Look at you now.
And now I look
Making stuff,
healthier. I have
making stuff
color in my
happen.
face again.
Yeah,
Yeah,
making stuff happen around the world. Just
just
pulling strings.
having fun, right? Using everybody to win,
Yep,
right? And it does take everybody to win, right? Um,
yep,
so anyways, let's talk about your squad then. That Crawford is leading your team in scoring and he's a defenseman, eh? That's always
yep,
interesting when a defenseman is your leading scorer, I find.
yeah. He's just a points machine, and
I'd
you
love
look
to
at the
be on
game.
that guy's team and compete with him for top scorer because I would be pissed off if a defenseman had more points than me.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we've had it, haven't we, with Hoff before, and Fournier as well with point scorers. But he makes so many good plays and so many good passes. But what I love about him is that he competes every single practice, every single game. He loves hockey, and he just competes. And you know, the one slight on him is sometimes he competes a bit too hard and he gets carried away. But you'd rather a guy that you got to pull down to the line than a guy you got to push up, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. It's like one
And
of
he
my
competes
horse.
and he gets rewarded. Yeah.
Well, it's like one of the horses on my team. We weren't allowed in a tournament because we were in too many or something. So then we had a weekend free. We booked ice and had a fun 3-on-3 tournament, and I made a trophy and played goalie for one of the teams. But like I was talking about these two kids that are, the second years. They're a year older than Colby. This one defenseman who's a player, he's a gamer. And by the way, his old man asked me to work with his son one-on-one, like after the season too. I guess they like my coaching.
Nice.
But anyways,
Nice.
he lost the 3-on-3 game, and the horse broke his $300 stick because he lost a 3-on-3 game for fun.
Ooh.
I thought it was so funny because I didn't have to pay for it, but
I was gonna say, yeah.
but that's what's interesting was the old man said to me when we were talking when my horse wasn't listening, he said, I'm really mad about it. He's like, but I also kind of enjoy how competitive he is, like how mad
Yeah,
he
he
was.
cares. He
Yeah.
cares.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colby's the same way, man. Like if we lose the game, I guess he's a lot like his mom and dad. I guess he gets right round.
Yeah.
Yeah. fun times coaching these kids. But that new goalie you brought in, eh? So you did have a switcheroo on goalies there. You got Bouncy, but
Yep.
then you one guy left, and then this Tyler Wall came in, and looks like he's kicking pucks out, eh?
Yeah, he's good. He's big. He's kind of he's quite laid back and relaxed, which is, I think, a good trait for a goalie. He keeps it simple, and and that's what you want, isn't it? Especially the structure that we try and give on D zone is, give shots up from the outside, and you just want a big body that's going to stop those pucks, make those first saves, and he's been doing a really good job of that. So he was great up in Manchester on the weekend. That was a first for him in that smaller rink, and he was really solid for us. And that's what you need when you go to tough places to play like that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's weird for me being back in the game and like checking scores, seeing who's winning. It was like it. I mean, I'm a Devil. Um, but then like, you look at the standings, I see you're going to Manchester, and I'm like, it would be really funny if Cardiff saw the chocolate, like I'm thinking I would laugh, beat that, but like I don't know how I would feel about Manchester beating you guys, but my gosh, it'd be funny if you guys saw the chocolate. You guys have never seen it there, have you? You've won when you've gone there, haven't you?
We must, have we, all the games?
I'm pretty sure that Cardiff has not seen the chocolate at
Yeah,
Manchester.
yeah, yeah. I wouldn't find it funny if we did. I'll be honest.
No, I understand. No, and you wouldn't find it funny if Twix hit the ice, right? If Herning won, and that is the beauty of
I'll,
hockey
I'll,
is,
yeah, I'll find it funny against the other two sides.
right? If yeah,
Yeah,
I agree. And I have played the Kazakhstan team before. Played them in Sunderyuski in like the regional Continental Cup,
yep.
and now I recall is we lost our first two games of that tournament to Nomad and to the Norway team that Marty played for. What team's that again?
Stavanger.
Stavanger. Both those teams beat us the first two games, and we were eliminated by the third game, and it didn't matter. And it was just go out there and play hockey for no reason against the Hungarian team. But that Kazakhstanian team, they were very skilled, big, fast, had all the talent in the world. And I tell you, man, I went and watched their practice while they were there before the tournament started, and I had never seen anything like it. It was very Kazakhstanian or Russian practice. If it
Yeah,
was
yeah. They
way
were there
different
last.
than Canadian.
They were there last night doing all kind of battle drills and bag skates and all
Yeah,
sorts. It's like it's hockey in the 80s, 90s, isn't it?
it was like going back. It was so different, man. They
Yeah,
had to. They were at work. They were not playing a game. They were at work.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And you
That's
can
what
see
Pete
it
was
in their
saying to.
faces too, though. Like
Yeah,
they beat
yeah.
us, they won. So who knows? Maybe they're doing things right. But man, those guys weren't having fun.
No, but you got to be ready to play them because they, like you say,
They're
they're
gonna
all
be ready.
business. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, and they're talented and they're good and they're big and they're strong and man, they compete because they're working. Right.
yeah, and they're trying to get jobs. I mean, they're young guys. I think it's the youngest roster by far in the tournament. But these are guys that want to go up to the KHL farm team, or they want to get big contracts in Europe. So they are hungry guys, and you have to respect them, but you got to compete. You got to compete against them.
Is that who you play today?
Yeah, that's who we play today.
It's pretty neat that we're talking and you're gonna play today and you're gonna coach.
Yeah,
God.
yeah,
It's
I
interesting
know.
for me, like knowing people in hockey now. It's like all the people that I've met along the way now. And like what I say is winning stuff takes people places, right? It's like
Yep,
when you go to Europe, there's tons of guys that go for a year or two. Their teams aren't that good. They don't win. They don't have that much fun because they're not winning. And teams maybe don't want them back or they're not getting pursued by other teams. And then their career is just over. If you go over there and win shit, people want you. They take notice of the team, of why is this team winning, right? Like who's on the third line, who's on the second line, because it takes every line to beat the other team's line, right?
yeah, no, definitely. I mean, it's a huge thing that if somebody has won before, then they go to the top of your recruitment list because
Yeah.
when you win stuff, you realize what it actually takes. You know, not what you think it takes, what it actually takes to
Yeah.
to be the ones to lift that trophy.
And I find it interesting that like I was just playing and I never was thinking I was going to start a shed and talk to hockey players. But when I was playing, you have respect for the guys, as I call them, shed guys, like Jono in Sheffield, and all the guys that I've had on is like, well, when I mucked it up against you, like I respected how you played and I respected how you mucked it up. And it's interesting how many shed guys have won shit, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
It's quite the crew of dudes we've put together.
Incidents. Yeah,
But that's what's neat though, is winning takes people places, and now my friends are becoming coaches and GMs, and they're also still playing, and I find it very neat. And I think it's because winning takes people places, you know?
yeah. And that's what's been interesting for me over this last week or so is, I mean, I've known Pete Russell, our head coach, for 25 years. So his first job in coaching was actually to run the junior system in Cardiff. I'd known him as a player because, you know, we played against him where I was, you know, a bench warmer. He was a backup goalie. So we had that kind of in common. And, you know, one of my best friends played on the team with him. So I sort of knew him, and then he came down, and he was only sort of mid early 20s, and he was running the junior system down here when I was playing for the Devils. And you're at that age where you're going out all the time. So we go out a lot together. So
Hmm.
I've only knew him as that. And then obviously, you know, followed his coaching career as he moved into the EPL, you know, won a few trophies and GB under 20, and then he gets a few shots in the elite league, but always with lower budget teams, you know, and he made them overachieve. And you're okay. Then he goes across to Germany, and everyone's like, he'll be back soon. You know, he took a bold step. Not many British coaches, British coach gets an opportunity to go to Germany, but he backed himself. He did that. He made a terrible team really good. Then he got a better team, and you know, ends up taking them to the finals. Then he gets a shot in the DL, which is ridiculous. And you know, that didn't work out. But he was telling me they lost something like 12, 15 one-goal games in that streak before he got released by the team. You know, and he had maybe 8 or 9 guys out injured at the time. And he loses all those one-goal games. They end up making a change. Goes back to his DL2 team, who was in, you know, mid-table, and what he's done with the GB team as well in terms of getting you know, we were talking about it today. You know, we've got maybe a pool of 30 players to pull from, and we're in a pool A nation. It's probably the biggest overachiever story that there is in sports. You know,
Uh,
and he's been at the helm of that. And
ugh.
from this weekend, you know, I've been around the team and I've been down for some pre-game meetings, but you know, actually seeing him in action on the bench and in between periods and the adjustments. I mean, he is on another level. I mean, they call him like Rain Man, and he has this photographic memory where he can pick something up in a game and he'll know when it happened, exactly how it happened. And you look at the video and it mirrors exactly what he's just told you happened. And he's just got this, like he is another level. I mean,
That's
I can see exactly now why he's been successful.
huh, yeah, I actually have heard that they call him Rain Man too. So yeah, but like that's weird you said that because I remember every play of the games I'm coaching. I don't need to watch the video. I know exactly what happened. I know exactly when it happened, who did
Yeah,
what, how it happened. Um, yeah, but I when I came over to Batchy's testimonial, I couldn't have been more impressed with the guy. I didn't know him. I saw his resume, and obviously we had our ties to the second league in Germany, where we're both Deutsche Meisters. Um,
yep,
I couldn't have been more impressed with him as a person. He told me the funniest hockey story I've ever heard, and
yes,
made my dreams come true, and it all works out in the wash. Thank you, Pete, for telling me that story about the whistle in the guy's butt because that's hockey, and but he's a winner, and I've seen it in Ollie Hampson's documentary that they're doing about your team, which is the
yeah,
coolest thing ever. And to see how far
isn't it?
Cardiff has come, that's getting made. I sure wish
Yeah.
that happened when I was there so that I could have that
Oh yeah,
memory, right? Because
yeah,
Man, if they would have made a documentary back when us Dandies were playing, holy moly, I don't know if people would want to see what was really going on. But Pete, that weekend at Batchy's testimonial, he was there when I showed up. He was there till the bitter end at Chippy Lane with yourself and I. Um,
Yep.
he was in it for all the right reasons. He was doing it for Batchy, his new player. He was doing it for his new team. And I've seen it in the documentary, his speeches, the passion, what he's saying to the team, everything makes sense. And he seems exactly like the type of guy I would want to play for.
Yeah, he is all that. He's very challenging as a coach because he wants the best. He's so competitive. Anything else, he just doesn't stand for. So
Fucking
he's
right.
hard to play for, but it's also really rewarding when, you know,
Well,
likewise, I would
if
love
you
a
don't
coach
give
like
it
that.
everything you got, you don't win. It's like if you don't give it right down to your nuts, then the other team might try harder than you, and then you don't win.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. And I also think it's pretty cool that he chose to come back. He always said that because I kept in contact with him all over these years, and he always said, one day I want to come coach in Cardiff, and make something happen there. And I think it's pretty cool that he saw that this club had kind of underachieved for a few years. COVID cut us off right in our peak, and then since then it's been hard to get back to that top level. And he's wanted that challenge because he hasn't done it in his own country yet. In the UK yet. So he's done it with the national team, but he hasn't done it at club level. He's done it in the league below, but not in the elite league. And he wants that challenge, which is a very hard challenge. It's a hard club to coach. Um,
Well,
so he wanted that challenge to get us back
it's
to the top
also got, I
and
think
to build.
it's gotten more difficult though because of the expectations, right? The expectations that
Yep,
Lordo
yep,
and you guys put into the club and the team. It's like the expectations now are, I mean, they're pretty wild.
yeah, it
You
is.
guys,
And
it's
with
kind of like
Lordo,
Team
it's
Canada in the world, the the World Juniors or everything. It's like, well, if we don't win, we sucked, right?
it's a disaster. Yeah,
Yeah.
and it's and that was with Lordo. I mean, he was fortunate, but don't get me wrong, he took that opportunity amazingly. But he was fortunate that he could start off with those low to no expectations. All people wanted to do was see a team that cares on the ice. And when you get a coach like Lordo, you're going to have a team that cares. But
Yeah.
he had that season or two where yeah, we actually won a trophy in our first season, unbelievable. But to go, he had that 2 years to kind of to play with, and then push on from there. And then those expectations grew with him. I got on Brody Dupont, and I think he was a really good coach. But this job was probably too soon for him in his coaching career because he didn't have any leeway whatsoever. So he didn't have those first 2 years to learn and to try things and whatever. So we really needed a coach that has got that experience that can kind of hit the ground running. But even with Pete, it's going to take a bit of time to build as he tries to implement his
Well,
style
he
and
has to
his
make it
culture
his own.
into a
Yeah,
club.
yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. It takes
And you
time. A
see that in
coach
all
just can't.
sports. It doesn't just
The
happen. It doesn't
stupidest thing
doesn't
of
happen
Germany, though,
overnight.
the stupidest thing about Germany, and Pete, I got your back because I know exactly how it works in Germany. When he got released from that DL team, they're a low budget team that doesn't expect to do that well every
Yep.
year. And then they don't do that well every year. And to me in Germany, I find it, I would say about as stupid as hockey gets, that they will not spend that much money on players. But then every year you can get a new coach in November at the national team break. It's like, well,
Yeah. Yeah.
why don't we save some of that money and buy some better players for the coach? You know?
Yep. Yeah,
It's so
exactly.
dumb, man. And
Especially
they
when,
spend so much money
yeah,
getting new coaches every November in Germany. And it's like, well, you know what? Why didn't you give that coach what he needed to start the season? And then maybe we're not here.
yeah. And you look at what's happening in Sheffield right now, where they've built a wagon, and there would have been arguments to get rid of Aaron Fox in years 1 and 2 because they were runaway leaders. They fell short. They did it again. They fell short. So some teams would have gone, right, that's 2 years in a row that you've choked it. So we're going to get another guy in. But they stuck with him, and it's enabled him to tweak his roster bit by bit until he's got the machine that he's built today.
Yeah, no, it's all about building a machine. I built my machine. We're ready. But what I find neat about that is I agree. They they had his back. They brought him back and they believed in him. And what I saw, I don't know why I see all this shit and it sticks with me, but Kevin Tansey is a shed guy. He's came on before, and I don't know if he was as much of a fit in Denmark as he is in the UK league, because I think he is a gamer, and in Denmark it's not quite as much of a gamer's game. um,
Yeah,
but I saw him post, I would go through a wall for this guy talking about his coach. And
yeah,
when you have players saying stuff like that about their coach, Western Michigan, where I went, the players are posting stuff like that about the coach they have now, Pat Ferschweiler. They're saying, I am so happy this guy's my coach. I'm so lucky this guy's my coach. And that's what a team needs. They need to buy into who they have, what they're about, and it is on the coach too to have players feel that way about them too, right?
yeah. No, definitely. And it's sometimes it takes time to get the team exactly playing the way that you want it to play and have the collection of guys that are all on the same page and pulling in the same direction.
I agree. And the other thing that's interesting too, though, is like when you bring in new coaches, each coach thinks of players differently and what they bring to the table. And I know firsthand from in Germany when we got new coaches, some of them liked me. The last one in Bietigheim did not, and didn't like my game, didn't like me as a person. And bringing in new coaches does change who plays and who gets ice time, right?
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yeah. Some guys can be completely different players depending on what coach they have.
Yeah, and I know that because I sure sucked when that guy came in because he messed me right up. But I believe in Pete Russell more than anybody. Seeing what he was like at Batchy's testimonial, um, man, I'd go through a wall for that guy. I'd be ready to play for him every night. That like he was still with us at 4 a.m. at Chippy Lane. I mean,
Yeah,
that's the type of guy I want on my team, you know?
yeah, definitely. Yeah,
Yeah. And when it's
that
Batchy's
that
testimonial and
sorts
he
the men
shows up like
sorts
that,
the men out for the boys. Eh?
well, it does. And I know how much he cares. And I know he was doing that to get to the end of the year. You know, you do a lot of stuff at the start of seasons and the start of building your culture and what it's about. And man, watching him that day at Batchy's testimonial, I knew Cardiff was in good hands, you know?
Yeah, no, it is definitely, and it's good that he's now here to build his thing and to get us back on track. And hopefully we can start this weekend. It'd be a great way to start the Russell era.
And that's it's a weird tournament, eh? Where you just play 3 games and it's the total points. It's like there's no final game where we get to go play for a trophy. I think that's horse manure, but
Yeah, well, I mean, it normally ends up that final game is where it's won or lost. And in last year's tournament, we won those first 2 games. We beat the host Angers in the first game. We won the second game, and then we had Nitra. We played Asiago in the second game. Then we had Nitra from Slovakia in the final game, and we got off to a terrible start. You
I
know,
think I watched it.
yeah, three bad goals. I think you might have had your team watching it with you, didn't you? Do you have like a something
I
over your
think that
house,
was
maybe?
I tried what was it, 2 seasons ago. That was actually there's been a lot of memorable shit happen around here.
Yeah,
I've been doing a lot of epic shit, as Mike Will would put it. That
yeah,
day was a like PD day where they had no school. We went in a 3-on-3 tournament, and I had made the Two Ales and Hockey Tales jerseys to
yeah,
send to the UK, and I hadn't sent them yet. So we were in a tournament, and I played a hockey tournament with a bunch of under 11 kids in Two Ales and Hockey Tales jerseys with beers on their chest, ripping around, being shed guys. It was a memorable day. And then we went out there, ran amok, and then came back from the 3-on-3 tournament to watch it was I don't know what it was, like the playoff finals or some kind of big game. And then
Yeah.
because I was in Canada, I couldn't get it going. So it just turned into
Oh,
like a big game of manhunt and the boys just had fun, you know?
yeah. Yeah.
Never did get it fired up.
They found something else to entertain them. But yeah, going back to last year's tournament, I mean, we were three nil down in the first period. You know, some bad turnovers and a couple that that we want back, and then the rest of the game for two periods, it's like we were playing downhill. God, we must have put up 40, 50 shots and we just could not get that. We got two goals back. We couldn't tie it up. So we ended up losing the tournament to Nitra on that final game. And that sucked because I think that was a really good opportunity to win it. So, there's definitely
Losing does suck.
it does. And, but it also drives you then to go one step better, from losing out
Yeah.
in close games for so many years, then you kind of got to let that fuel you and drive you, and that's hopefully what we can use this weekend.
I couldn't agree more. So I guess nobody will be getting naked for the pregame speeches this weekend.
I wouldn't have thought so. I wouldn't have
You,
thought so.
you guys
Now
are
I
you
now I
guys are getting
know.
a little bit too professional for guys like me,
Yeah,
eh?
yeah. Well, now I know, and I can see that game day you are in your shed, all across the other side of the Atlantic. So I know I know you're not going to pop up like you have been known to at
No,
big games.
no, no.
So yeah,
Can
probably
you
safe
imagine
to
if
say
I
no one
if out
will
of
be naked.
nowhere I showed up and did a pregame speech out of the blue? That
Oh my god.
would be something else. But you should.
Yeah.
I can still give pregame speeches, Franny. I I
No,
I, I still
you don't
excel
lose
at it.
that stuff.
No,
You don't
you
lose that
can't.
stuff.
It's a little different now in under 13, but it's not that
Yep.
different. I'm just clothed now, you know,
Yeah, yeah, that's important.
and they know it's coming.
Yeah.
But like when you're giving a pregame speech to a bunch of guys that are gonna go out and compete against a big rival, man, this whole coaching kids has got my juices totally flowing again. I get to try and figure out how to make my teammates better. I get to try and figure out how to teach them how to be shed guys and like how to care and have each other's backs. And man, I am so fucking into it. It's wild.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I mean, in when I was a junior in Cardiff, we had two of the dads ran the team, Mike Townsend and Alan Keating. And when we look back at the memories, sadly, Alan passed away a few years ago, and we were talking at his funeral with Mike, and he was with us all now as adults, where we've all got our own kids and stuff, and he was saying, "Oh my God, the memories I've got from you guys." Um, that we created over a number of years playing, in junior for so long. And we were like, well, Mike, you're the one that helped us grow as people, and turned us into the people we are today because you didn't stand for any nonsense. You knew when it was time for us to have fun, but you knew when it was business time. And, you taught us that respect. So, those two guys had a huge, huge impact, more than they'll ever know, in shaping the lives of all those young players.
Yeah, stop it. Um, I find it interesting what I'm doing now. It's like I do it for free. I do it voluntarily, but I guess that's what everything I do in life is what I do for free and voluntarily, like the shed
Yeah.
and coaching.
And it pays you back in other ways. Hey, it pays you back in other ways.
It's the little things in life that mean the most. Going to the grocery store and seeing kids I've coached before or I'm coaching now, and they give me hugs, and I
Yep.
can see I can see the parents appreciate me, but like it's what the kid like when I see my people around town, I mean, it's neat and it's cool.
Yeah.
And it's weird for me because when I had acted like such a donkey in Cardiff, when it was over the hockey part of playing, and I did act like such an idiot and did spray paint myself naked and give pregame speeches and acted like a fool. I was just trying to win and trying to help any way I could. But like when I came back, I didn't have the confidence in myself as a person as being such a donkey that I was like, I don't know if I am the right guy to teach these kids and lead them and be the role model, because I mean I had been spray painting myself naked and running around giving pregame speeches, but I do believe I am now. I believe in myself more. Um, and when I see the relationships I'm building with these kids, it is priceless, you know?
Yeah,
And I
one
do
one
think
hundred
I'm
percent.
I'm I think I'm better at coaching than I was at playing. And I think I did all right at playing,
Well,
but I am better at coaching. I
yeah,
think
well,
that now conditioning is no longer a factor and people can stop body shaming me and I can just focus on bringing teams together and winning games.
doing what you do. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh God. But teams to win, I don't like to say nice things to people because you never played me enough. But um teams need guys like you that will do whatever it takes. That if it like a Mosey, like you want him forward today, you want him defense today, you want him to put on the pads and play goalie, sure, let's do the best we can. Like Thomas Murdy. He'll be your backup goalie, he'll also be your equipment manager. It takes guys that will do whatever it takes to win. And I think that's as hockey as it gets. And that's what you do. That's why you had to miss my pregame speech on Wally night, was because you were in the penalty box doing whatever you're doing
A
that
carpet
night.
ready.
Yeah. And but that's what it takes. And then you're stepping up to get on the bench again this weekend. And like again, I know my Cardiff Devils are in good hands, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I do see it as a privilege to still be involved in hockey, and especially with my hometown club. So it's to me it doesn't matter what I do as long as I'm somehow involved. So I am grateful for that.
And I completely agree. Being involved is way better than not being involved. And I know that
Yep.
firsthand from those first 5 years back here, till I went back for Wally night where I was out of the game. I wasn't involved. And like the kids were in like Tyke where it's not a team, you're just skating around pylons and shooting it. It's like once they got on teams and then I get to coach teams and I have like my own team to do what I want, it's like holy shit, I'm doing like everything I want to do in life.
Yeah.
Ah, good stuff. But yeah, like
Yeah.
the thing,
And Wally, just like that, I'm gonna have to call time out here.
you got to
It's
go coach.
game- yeah, exactly.
You got to go
Yeah.
coach. Shoot.
Yeah. Well, I got to go watch this first game,
So you're the late game
and
then?
then stay down there. It's a long day. Yeah, there's an afternoon game, and then there's 8 o'clock tonight is when we got ours. So we'll watch the first game, little break, and then into ours.
Well, if any of the players want to listen to me, they should treat these games just like every other game. Because when I went to the Continental Cup, I didn't treat it like every other game. I went and watched the early game, and I watched the other two teams play to see what it was
Yeah.
like. And then it wasn't like a normal day for me because I went and watched the early game. And I think you should just go show up and play like every other game, and win this
Yep.
thing. And then let's throw Kit Kats all over the ice, right?
Yep.
And one
Sounds
peppermint
good to
Aero,
me.
right? Well, Franny, keep doing what you're doing. The Devils are very lucky to have you. And yeah, I don't like saying nice things to people.
Well,
I'm
hopefully,
proud of you for what you do for the team. And I think winning takes people places. And if you guys wouldn't have kept winning when I left, the Shed family probably isn't what it is. And winning takes people places. And I'm very proud of all you assholes.
well, thanks, Wally. Good to see you again, and hope to be sending you that selfie on Sunday.
Absolutely. And this has been another episode of Two L's and Hockey Tales with the Fran Man and Wally.